Okay, in our last session, we talked about number one, grabbing somebody's undivided attention. We do that with a hook, a strong statement, a specific question that forces them to think, or a personal reference. The goal is wherever their mind is, because it's not on you, wherever their mind is, we want to bring it into the moment and stand that mind at attention, right? We grab that with a good hook. Now we're going to talk about what you do to bring their attention level back up before you make any important point. I started doing that technique in the last session. It's kind of how I ended it, and it's called salting. You've heard the adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That is a bold-faced lie. Why? Because if you hand a horse a handful of oats and you salt those oats, and he takes those oats from you, and give him another handful and salt those, guess what? He will drink the water the moment he gets near it. Have you ever gone into a theater and bought popcorn, salted it? Do you buy a drink? You don't even think about going into the theater without a drink. Why? Because you know that salty popcorn is going to make you thirsty, and you don't want to go a whole movie without quenching your thirst. So you're going to get a drink, whether it's water or soda, it doesn't matter, but you're going to do it. Well, this technique for bringing their attention back is called salting. We salt our communication. We create curiosity about what we're going to say before we say it. That instantly brings the attention span back up. So, for example, I said in our last session, there's a proverb that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And when you procrastinate the hope of a spouse, a significant other, a child, a peer, an employee, a partner, you procrastinate, you create a hope, and then you procrastinate fulfilling that hope. You are causing their heart, the core of who they are, not just emotion, it is who they are. It begins to get sick. And when it gets sick, hope deferred makes the heart sick. Look at what happens. They lose their energy. They lose their motivation. They lose their commitment. They lose their trust. They also lose their creativity. That's another thing they lose. All of those things happen when they are demotivated by procrastinating the fulfilling of their hope. The other part of that proverb says, but desire accomplished, it is a tree of life. So what happens? Instead of deferring their hope, you actually fulfill it. And that becomes a tree of life inside that child, that spouse, that employee, that partner, your peer, your friend. When hope is fulfilled, desire accomplished, it is a tree of life. So we were talking about salting, and I said, every woman has 4 great needs. Every man has 3 great needs. When those needs are met, what happens? A tree of life grows up inside of that person. They feel fulfilled, they're happy, life is at its best. On the other hand, when they're deferred, the heart gets sick. So I said to you, next time we'll talk about those 4 great needs of a woman and the 3 great needs of a man. That was salting. That was creating curiosity about what I'm going to say before I say that. And when I do this with an audience, I'll go ahead and I'll say, so next session, remind me to tell you what those needs are. People literally start shouting, no, now, and so then I'll go ahead and I'll go through with it because you make them thirsty. And you don't salt everything. You only salt when you have an important point that you want to make. If I said, for example, there's one thing you can do that'll so boost your immune system, it's going to increase how fast your T cells are going to reproduce if you get sick. So you're going to be sick for a shorter period of time, and the symptoms are going to be fewer and less severe when you do this one thing. Okay, now I've created curiosity. What's the one thing? Now I've got to back it up. I've got to deliver, right? Well, I'll just tell you real quick, going back to the needs of a man and woman. 4 great needs of a woman. Number 1 is security. Not financial security, although that's nice, but true security. True security for a woman is her knowing that she can be exactly who she really is. She can say how she feels. If she's down, she can be down. And no matter what she says, no matter how she feels, it'll be validated. It will be honored. It won't be chastised or attacked or condescended. You know, come on, snap out of it. None of that type of language will happen. So security, being loved and honored for who she is and how she feels and what she thinks and what she says, rather than being dishonored. Second great need of a woman is meaningful communication. It's the meaningful communication that creates a connection. And a woman in relationships she values wants connection. She wants to be that connected. And that comes from meaningful communication. Number 3 great need of a woman is romance. She wants to be romanced. And the man romanced her during the courtship. They get married and she thinks that part of his brain has been removed because he's no longer romantic, okay? Well, there's some things that men can do that if they just do little things, it begins to bring romance back into the relationship. And the 4th great need of a woman is non-sexual touch, holding hands, back massage, neck massage, hugs. She needs that kind of touch that shows honor and love without the expectation of it leading to intimacy. 3 great needs of a man. And whenever I say that, women say, I know what their greatest need is. No, it's not. Number 1 need of a man is not sexual intimacy. That's actually number 3, believe it or not. Number 1 is they want to feel admired and respected. That's really important. What happens? They don't get it at home, and at work, somebody starts to admire them and respect them, and the man's heart begins to shift away from home and to that person that's showing him that honor, that admiration and respect. Number 2 great need of a man is to feel loved and desired, not just sexually, but physically, emotionally. We have that need. And when those first 2 needs aren't met on a regular basis, guess what becomes the substitute, the counterfeit, the medication? It flips, and sexual intimacy becomes number 1 because the other 2 are never met. But those are the 2 that a man needs to have met. And if those 2 are met, then the sexual intimacy will be there. The man will be able to count on that, and it's regular, but it's not going to be the final word in a relationship. When these 2 are taken away, and oftentimes they're taken away very early in a relationship, then this floats to the top and everything gets screwed up. So the only reason I shared that was to show you in communicating, I created curiosity about what I said before I said it. When I said hope deferred makes the heart sick, all of that set up to get your attention to what's going to fix that sick heart. And instead of deferring hope in those critical areas, we begin to fulfill those needs and dreams. And as we do that, the relationships become more intimate, intertwined, and of course, more fulfilling. Okay, so grab their undivided attention with a hook, bring their attention back whenever it goes down, when you need it to come back, with good salt, creating curiosity. Now, the 3rd communication technique, we're going to get into that in the next session. But that one is what bridges left brain, right brain. It is the single most effective communication skill that a man or a woman can use that will bring real connection, because it crosses that barrier of left brain, right brain. It enables the other person to not only understand what you're saying clearly, but actually feel what you're feeling. Now, that's not just for gender differences. If I'm a salesperson and I want to get the other person on my side and wanting my solution for their problem, then that right brain technique is incredibly powerful, because it shows my humanness, it shows my honesty, my vulnerability, my transparency. It's amazing what this does. I would never try to communicate anything important without using this technique. In fact, Ronald Reagan, who they called the great communicator, used this technique all the time. Gary Smalley always used it. I will tell you, the single greatest communicator of all time, was Jesus Christ. How do I know that? Because people would listen to him for days without leaving. They didn't want to miss a thing he said. And guess what? He used this technique almost every time he had anything important that he wanted other people to retain. He always used this technique, this skill set. So we'll look at that in our next session.